Some of you have heard this before. We just got back from a mission out in the East Coast, and we taught a launching leaders course to several thousand people out there, and some of you have been there before, so if you finish before I do, you can go. But I want to tell you, as you obviously have a class credit, you need to take great notes. I don't need to tell you, but most people, we do need to tell that you need to take great notes. If you'll take good notes, you'll increase your retention from about 0 to 17.4%. We've done this scientifically. That's a joke, by the way. If you'll review those notes within 48 hours, your retention will go to 73.2%. And make the numbers up as I go. If you will share this message with somebody else and teach it to somebody else, your retention will be nearly 100%. Will you do that for the rest of your life? Have a journal of some kind when you take to church and other meetings, and you'll find that you'll have much greater retention, and you'll meet some people someday that might change your whole life. So just take good notes, and let me just give you some. I'm going to teach you a formula for success today. I'm going to go back almost exactly 50 years ago this year when I was serving my mission in Scotland, and my mission president was a man whose name was David B. Haight. Some of you will not have to be reminded who that name is. And he was my mission president. It had a tremendous impact on my life. My mission changed my life dramatically. I'll tell you about it in a minute. But it was an incredible experience, and he gave me the formula for success a week before I came home from my mission. Before I do that, though, I want to go back a little bit further. When I got home later on, I added to his formula by reading another book about a man whose name was J. Paul Getty. J. Paul Getty is some of you aren't, none of you are old enough to remember him and know him, but he was an oil tycoon out of Texas. And he had a lot of oil. If you have oil, you can make a lot of money. And so when you do, you can write your own book and tell your formula for success. This will get better in just a minute, brother. Where's he going? He just left. Does that happen all the time? Makes me nervous that I haven't even gotten started yet. And you start walking out. I'll try to speed it up a little, okay? Where was I? J. Paul Getty, oil tycoon out of Texas, okay? And he made a lot of money. And when he did, he wrote his book. And in his book, he wrote his formula for success. And I've added it to what David Haight gave me, and I'm going to give it to you and then tell you a story, and that's it. We'll be done by midnight. J. Paul Getty said there's 3 things you need to do to be successful in life. And I really believe these. Number 1, he said, get up early. Get up early. Now, I usually, how many in this room are returned missionaries? A lot of returned missionaries. How many days do you, as an elder missionary, did you get up early on your mission? 730 days, right? In my day, 100 years ago on a mission, we used to have a half an hour extra on our preparation day. They don't do that anymore. Heavenly Father wants you to get out of bed early. Why does he do that? Why does he have you get up every single day for 730 days, no later than 6:30 in the morning? I don't have time for Q&A here at this point, but you know the answer, don't you? What happens when you do that for 730 days? It becomes a habit. Becomes a habit. You know, if I had better eyesight and to look closer right now, I would look into your eyes and I would know how many of you in this room have forgotten that habit. Some of you have. Some of you have come home from your missions and you've served your time and you've done your work and you've done all you need to do, and now you've turned into what we call a night person. And some of you will even come to me and say, Brother Ritchie, I'm a night person. I don't understand why you have to be so nervous about the early morning stuff. And I tell you, guess what, troops? I got the scriptures on my side, the prophets are on my side, the early prophets are on my side, and everybody that I know that's a success story, almost everybody I know in my life, in my long life, have been people who have been early risers. Get up early is a key to your success. I promise you, and you are the brightest of the brightest in this church. You can't get in this school without being an extremely bright kid, and so you are the best of the best. But I want to promise you, your competitors out there, that you're going to be your competitors in life, are early risers. They're probably, no matter what time you get up, some of those will get up earlier than you are going to. So just take it to heart that if the thing you learn to do in the mission field, keep it up and realize that getting up early is a prime prerequisite for success. Number 2, he said, and another great attribute of the mission field days, he said, work hard. And again, I don't know of anybody in my life that I know that if anybody in this room are going to inherit your wealth, this lecture will ruin your life, because you really were meant to come down here and earn by the sweat of your brow, learn how to work. And again, a mission field was a great place to learn that, wasn't it? To learn how to work hard. So Paul Getty said, get up early and work hard are the 2 prime prerequisites. And then he said the third point of his success story was, and I thought this is very humorous, so be sure and give me a hearty laugh. He said, once you get up early and work hard, you need to, 3, find oil. Don't you think that's funny? I thought that was really funny. Find oil. What kind of an idiot would it take to not know that, man? If you find oil, you're going to be successful. You'll make a lot of money, man, in the oil business. Especially if you're from Texas in the oil business, okay? So that's what he said, and I used to laugh about that and use that as a kind of a hilarious beginning or something. And then I realized, I thought about it. Guess what? It's true. It really is a true principle, but it doesn't have to be oil, does it? It really means all he was really saying was find something that you can be really good at, that a service or a product that you can be really good at, that people will pay you to come and do or build for them and pay you a profit for it. Find your oil. Find something you're good at. You come to school to do that. Before you leave this hallowed property, you need to have identified what is your oil. What are you really going to do the rest of your life? And you might do a lot of things the rest of your life, but find the area that you can identify a lot of things that equivalent to your oil. Okay? Leave that now. Jump over to my mission 50 years ago, to where David Haight steps in with his formula for me. I'd worked very closely with him for the last 6 months, and we're on a riverboat cruise on a River Clyde. And we're having a bunch of the members of the church with us and all the missionaries, and I had a week left on my mission. He walks up the side of me, and we're standing on the rail, and he says this to me. He says, Elder Ritchie, you're going to go home in a week. I want you to go home and do these 3 things in this order, and if you will do them in this order and do them exactly as I'm going to tell you, you will not only be successful in life, but you'll also be happy. And he basically committed me. Will you, the 2 most famous words and most important words in the missionary's vocabulary, will you go home and do these 3 things in this order? And again, with a promise of success and happiness if you'll do it. I, of course, by that time had enough confidence in David B. Haight that whatever he said I memorized and wrote down and thought about, because I know he didn't ever tell any lies or bad stories, and so I knew it would work. And so this is what he said to do. Number 1, when you get home, get your education. Get trained. Get all the training you can get. Number 2, he said, and this is a word you people in America will understand better than some in the international world. This is not a common phrase, but for us it is. He said, make your mark. Somebody quickly tell me what he meant by that. What does that mean to you, to make your mark? Real loud.
Like find some way to impact the world.
Okay, good. Excellent, excellent. Find some way to impact the world. Change the world. Make a difference. Do something really good. When you find your oil, make it work for you. Do something unique. You have been born to be a creator. You've been born in the image and raised in the image of God. You have the potential of godhood. And in that process, and you come to one of the greatest, best schools in the world to find your oil and discover things in life, and now you need to go home and find it, and then go home and make it work. Go back to the world of the real world and put it together and make it work. Make your mark in life, he said. You can't be a dud. There's plenty of duds out there. There's plenty of losers. There's plenty of mediocrity. There's plenty of people who never put it together. You can't afford to take all this valuable missionary time and then go home and become a mediocre player in the marketplace. Make a difference. And then he said the third part of his formula, which was the one that really was the most impactful, because up until this point, he could have said things that J. Paul Getty could have said. Anybody in any self-help book and any promising book would have given those first 5 steps. But then he changed my life with this next quote. Nice to have you come to class. Appreciate you coming. Shall I start over? See me after, will you please? Okay. Number 3, get your education, make your mark in life. And then he said this, and it didn't hit me hard really at this point, but I'll tell you when it did a little bit later. Get prepared to be of service. Get prepared to be used. Get prepared to build a kingdom. Get prepared to serve. Now, let me just pause there and then jump start about 15 years later, 1978, when we finally decided to retire in life, and we said, you know, I went to see him. He became a dear friend of ours, a mentor of mine my whole life. You need to find mentors. David B. Haight was a great one. While he lived, we talked often, and he was a great mentor, great friend. And when we decided we wanted to go off and do something for the church and volunteer to do something full-time and take out the time 7 kids with us, I went to see him, and by this time he was an apostle, and I asked him the question, you know, we're thinking about doing this. Should we go do it? I'll tell you the whole story in a minute. And he said, do you remember the time I sat on the edge of that rail and talked to you about the formula back in Scotland? And I said, yes. He said, do you remember what I told you? And I said, yeah, memorize it, man. Get your education, make your mark, and get prepared to serve. Did you understand number 3? Well, I said, I think so. That's what I'm here today. I want to talk about. Did you really understand it? And then he said this to me. He said, do you realize, Brother Jim, at that point, he said, do you realize that if you get up early and work hard, he didn't add these, I'm adding these in because it kind of ties the story together. If you get up early and work hard and get trained, get your education, and in the process find your oil, and then become good at it, make your mark, he said it's almost impossible to be in this country living those 5 steps and not be successful. Nearly impossible not to be successful. But he said, now the Book of Mormon comes into play. What will happen to almost everybody you know, in or out of the church, who reads those 5 steps and does become very successful? What will usually happen to their lives if it's all focused on making your mark in life and finding your oil and becoming really successful? What's the natural outcome that happens, you Book of Mormon scholars? We become prideful. And he says, it will destroy you. The very thing you sought for, the very success you wanted to have in life, will be your downfall because it will destroy you with pride. You'll begin to believe your own press. You'll start to believe you're somebody special. You'll begin to believe that kind of stuff to the point that it'll make you and probably ruin your life. But if you really got the principle on number 3, when I said to you, get prepared to serve, get prepared to build the kingdom, get prepared to be useful, in the process of all the things you're gathering, all the oil that you discover, and all the things you make and create, if you do it with the purpose of giving back, it will keep you humble. It will keep your feet grounded on the earth, and you'll have a chance of not only becoming a success story in life, but you'll discover that you were sent here to give back and to serve. And he said, in the end, it will be the only means of pure happiness. Do you believe that? I want you to buy into that, because I want you to know that all the things I've ever gained in my life, and I've gained a lot of material things in life, but there's none of those that really have ever really made me happy other than for the moment. Other than for the moment, those things you get, those closings at the title company when you get the big check, and you get the big house, and you get the big new BMW, whatever you get in life, the things in life that money can buy, when you get them, they're fun for a minute. And then you got to have another one and a bigger one. And in the end, it will usually be our downfall. But he said, if you will keep yourself grounded with everything you're acquiring in life is with the idea that you're going to help build somebody else and give it back and build the kingdom in the process, then it will keep your feet grounded. Okay? Now let's put it together. Can we, the two into one formula? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's see if we got it down. What's number one? Say it out loud. It's still the same. I want you to believe that. It starts tomorrow morning between 5 and 6:30 tomorrow. Your success story of life. It really does. 2, work hard. 3, a little change. Little change on number 3. Put it in order. Which would come first? Get your education. Why do you get your education? So you can, 4, find your oil. Find the things you're good at. Develop your talents and skills. And why do you do that? So you can go out in number 5, make your mark in life. Become success story. Why do you do that? The more success you have financially, talents and skills, more oil, the more things you have, the more you can do number 6, which is to what? Give back, serve, build the kingdom. Say it out loud again. 1, 2, 3. So you can 4. So you can 5. So you can 6. Serve. Build a kingdom. I promise you that's a true story and it'll work. I promise it'll still work. It's an old formula. Paul Getty's been dead for 100 years. David Haight's been gone for years. It still works today, I promise you. But don't just memorize it, internalize it. Realize it's really true. Let me tell you a story now. What time? How long we got? What time we? Okay. I can tell this story. I want to tell you a personal story. Very, very personal story. I was born, as Scott said, 100 years ago, okay? And when I was a year old, 1944, I acquired polio. The reason you probably noticed me limp around a little bit, I got a bad leg, and I had got polio, and it set me back. For 5 months in the hospital, and tough times in life, and feeling sorry for myself, and all the things in life that go with wanting to be the quarterback and some kind of an all-star in some sports, and realize you haven't got any speed left, and there's nothing left of you except a bum leg. So it set me back. And now go one more year ahead. Now to 1945. I'm 2 years old now, and on my second birthday, when everybody starts to learn to talk on their second birthday. You start to learn to communicate. When I did, I realized I stuttered really badly. So I had a bad stutter. And it really caused me internal pain, because I realized when I got nervous, especially, I would stutter quite a bit. And I would worry about that as I grew up. And the only A I ever got in English was writing a limerick. I wrote a limerick for Sister Mrs. Hoyt in the Wasatch High School. And in that, I wrote this famous limerick, and you can have it if you want to have it for your English class. There once was a boy, it's a joke. There once was a boy named Jim, who was full of vigor and vim, who limped when he walked and stuttered when he talked. That little boy named Jim. I got an A for that. Pretty good stuff, huh? Quality limerick. Anyway, it really did. I still got along okay, and I was thankfully, I was raised by 2 very hard-working entrepreneurial parents on a poultry farm and a feed mill and a bunch of other things we had in life, and so I had to go work. I couldn't feel sorry for myself. They didn't let me pity anything, and I had to learn to work. And I did some other things in school. I couldn't be the debate captain. I couldn't be the quarterback on the football team, but I still student body president, but I had to do it just by learning some people skills and work about stuttering and all the things I did. I just really bothered me. I wanted to be somebody. I wanted to be somebody that could stand up and communicate and tell a story and tell an idea and teach something and be somebody's hero and be the guy that the girls wanted to date. And all it was a limping, stuttering guy. And it really scared me in life. And in fact, as I graduated from high school, I then started running away from my mission. I'd always wanted to go on a mission my whole life, but the closer I got to my mission, I realized that missionaries have to speak, have to communicate. And I realized I wasn't very good at that, and so I kind of decided to run away. Maybe my bishop and my mom and dad would forget about this dream we had of having our 2 sons go on missions. My older brother had already gone and now was in med school, and I was, so I kind of ran away to a Gentile school. University of Utah. Hoping I'd be hidden away from life. I still stayed active in the church, but I came home one weekend in my pre-quorum class was a man named Marion Tree, who was the principal of my high school and also my pre-quorum advisor. He taught the pre-quorum class that day when I was there, and he changed the entire lesson from whatever it was going to be to section 82 and 10. Which says, all you return missionaries, I, the Lord, am bound when you do what I say. That's all you got to have for this lesson. 82 and 10. As we walked out of class that day, he put his arm around me and said, Jim, do you know who that lesson was for? And I said, that was for me, wasn't it? He said, you got it, brother. I changed the whole lesson for you when I saw you come to class today because I wanted you to know that I've watched you all your life, watched you learn how to work and you learn how to do a lot of things, but you got a problem, and you're trying to run away from it. And I want you to know that the Lord has said to us very plainly, He's bound to bless us if we do what He says. And you can't run away in life and try to hide from your problem and think it's going to be cured some way and fixed some way, because it won't happen that way. I, the Lord, am bound when you do what I say. I would suggest you get on your mission. I was a little bit late at the time, a few months late anyway, so he walked me right to the bishop's office. I picked up my papers, filled them out that week in school, came back the next weekend, turned them in, and a few months later I found myself in the old mission home in downtown Salt Lake, heading for Scotland on my mission. While I was there for 5 nights, I had a dream, and in that dream I saw a little old lady. I was knocking on doors in Scotland with my companion, and we knocked on a door, and a little old lady was there, 80-year-old lady plus. And she looked me in the eyes, and I opened my mouth, and I said to her in perfect English, good evening, my friend and I are representatives of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. May we step in? Perfect English in my dream. Dream ended. I get on the airplane, we fly to Scotland, I meet my first mission president, Bernard Brockbank, who then asked me some yes or no questions. You don't stutter when you answer yes or no questions. And so he didn't have any idea I had a problem. He put me on a bus, sent me to Dumbarton, Scotland. I met my big 6'6" companion, and from Bountiful, Utah, and off we go, unpack, and then go knocking on doors that first evening. After about 20 doors, he turned to me and said, Elder Ritchie, this is your door. I knocked on, didn't have to knock, I just had to lay my arm against the door. The knock came quite naturally, and the door opened, and guess who's standing there? The lady of my dreams. There she is. In my heart, I went like this. I said, Yahoo, the church is true. I didn't do that, really. But I wanted to. That's how I felt. I was so excited. I thought, man, this is something, isn't it? I, the Lord, am bound. You do what I say. One day in the mission field, and it's over, man. I'm going to be Mr. Cool Missionary. I opened my mouth to give her my famous memorized door approach and couldn't get past friend. Couldn't say it. Finally, out of mercy, my companion introduced us. And she had no interest in the church, closed the door. And as we walked away, in my heart, I said, you know what, I've been duped. The church probably isn't true, and I'm out here I messed up. I can't go home, can't embarrass my folks. They only got 2 kids, and I'm the second one. My other kids, Mr. Everything, Mr. Football, Mr. Wrestler, Mr. Student Body President, Mr. Everything. And here I am. I'll be a nothing if I go home, but I wanted to go home. I told my companion, I'll carry the flannel board, I'll carry the bags, you do the talking, I'll just be your companion. One advantage I had is I only had 729 more days to go. It's kind of a joke. You're not getting all the jokes. 2 days later, I went to Scotland with 26 missionaries. They were the biggest missionary group that ever gone to Scotland at that time. They were going to divide the mission. They were beefing up the numbers. 2 days after transfers were over, and you missionaries know they don't transfer only once every month or 6 weeks now. But then 2 days later, they had another transfer. One missionary came to our zone as the zone leader, named Terry Walsh. Terry Walsh, in his other life, before he came on his mission, was a Catholic priest in Newcastle, England. He joined the church when 2 missionaries gave one of his parishioners a Book of Mormon, asked her to read it. She brought it to a Catholic priest. She said, should I read this book, this Mormon book? He said, no, of course not. It's of the devil. But he said, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll read it for you. And then you come back in a week and I'll tell you all the flaws, all the problems about this devil book. So this Catholic priest, in study really, read the Book of Mormon. And then he read it again. The third time through, he said he knew he was in trouble. He joined the church, was disowned by his family, defrocked by his church. And Bernard Brockbank in that day sponsored him on a mission, brought him to Scotland. He was a phenomenal preacher, one of great, a Catholic priest turned Mormon would be a great preacher. And he was a great one. He came to our zone. He's the only missionary. Now, I think for you Gentiles, you won't get this. But for those house of Israel in the rooms, listen very carefully to the rest of this story. He was a great communicator. He could that, and he was the only missionary in all of Scotland at that time that was allowed to go to anywhere to preach in sacrament meetings, all the branches, anywhere in Scotland, because of his great fame and notoriety and who he was. The rest of us, we know, have to stay in our zone. He would go to 2 and 3 sacrament meetings every Sunday to teach. And he called up on Saturday night and said to Elder Barlow, my companion, Elder Barlow, I'm going to go to these 3 branches tomorrow. I want to take Ritchie with me. Never met. Had no idea, had any problem. We now get in the car the next morning. We're driving to his first speaking engagement. On the way, he says, by the way, Elder Ritchie, you'll be speaking today too. You'll be giving a talk on faith, 5 minutes on faith. Get ready. And I said, no, I'd rather not do that. And he said, no, you will. So I did. I stood at the pulpit, and I stood there with my hand. I did a President Hinckley stuff. I put my hand up there like it's supposed to and looked over the audience and shaking and gave a terrible talk. And then he went to the next meeting. On the next way, the next branch, somewhere 20 miles away, he said, okay, 5 more minutes this time on repentance. And I did the same thing, another terrible talk. Another one that day, I forget the subject, doesn't matter. A week later, the same phone call comes, and for 6 months, the last 6 months of his mission, he and Jim Ritchie went all over Scotland at every branch in the church over there and ward, what few wards we had, and we preached religion. And then he had to take 5 minutes, and then he'd take 30 minutes, and everybody line up to be baptized when he'd get through. I'm overdoing the story just a little bit. Okay? But he was a phenomenal teacher. About halfway through that experience, my friends, a miracle happened. What's the verse? I, the Lord, am bound, you do what I say. A miracle happened halfway through that story. When one day I gave my first talk, really, I didn't have any. It was kind of good. Apparently it must have been I could still see an old man walking up to the rented hall, the Borough Hall in Scotland, and shook my hand and told me what a great talk I'd just given. It was the most liberating day of my life as I realized that maybe there was hope for me. Maybe there was hope that someday I might be able to stand on my feet and communicate an idea. Maybe there's some way that I might become a leader some way, because I could develop the habits. I've just conquered a problem that was plaguing me my whole life. All because I had served a mission and was out there serving and being put in a position to where I had to stand up and do something over and over again in front of an audience. Well, you know the rest of that story. The story ended. I spent the next year, the greatest year of my life, with David Hayden and get the formula. Then I come home, and now this time I've joined the church so I can go to BYU. So I'm now a BYU student. And I'm now decided I want to get on to life. I got the formula. I want to get on to life. And so I start going. There's a lot of girls' dorms here, so I start going tracting. You know, behind every door, there's 8 beautiful women. I'd go, and this isn't how it happened. If my wife was here, she'd tell you the whole story, but I got a principle I want to teach you, so I want to tell it my way. So I knocked on those doors, and I knew there were 8 girls in there, and I'd open the door, and they'd say, "Hi, my name is Jim Ritchie. I'm from Heber City, and I need a woman." I need a woman, man. How many in there would like to have an interview? And they'd look at me and they'd say, why would we want to marry you? You're not very handsome. You got a bad leg. You used to stutter quite badly. You're a chicken farmer's kid from Heber. Why would we want to marry you? Kind of hurts. I'd look them right in the eye, and I'd say, "You're right. I am a chicken farmer's kid from Heber. I do have a bad leg. Did stutter quite badly. Not very handsome. Look at me, though, when I talk to you. But you know what I got? I got the formula. I got the formula. I'm going to make it in life. If I can find someone who will take a chance on me, I'm going to make it. Because I've been trained by the best, and I know what I'm going to go do in life, and I know why I'm here at school, and I know what I'm going to get out of it, and I'm going to find my mark in life, and I'm going to make it happen. And if you'll take a chance with me, I need someone. I want a family. I want children. I want to have grandchildren. But you got to take a chance on me because I'm not much to look at. I have a lot of problems, but I'm going to make it. Finally, I got this beautiful Dixie chick from St. George, Utah. Actually, she was dating one of my missionary buddies and our roommate. And while he turned his back, I asked her out, and I had a car and he didn't. So he became an orthodontist and I became a chicken farmer. That's a joke. And but you know what? It worked. And I'll shorten the story now to finish up to just tell you that we went home and we started up life in Heber City, and we started buying businesses and starting deals and making deals. And I'd work 18-hour days. I loved being an entrepreneur. I loved working hard. I loved getting up early. I loved all those things in life, and she loved having children and making babies and raising them and doing great things in life. She was really good at it. She raised 8 beautiful kids, and they all went on missions, and they're all married in the temple, and got 39 grandkids now, and they all because they had this grandmother and this mother that's really been indoctrinated and making her mark in life as a mother. And she's really good at it. And she's a beautiful woman, and it's just really neat to have her by my side. And so we worked really hard. We had her both areas of influence, and I went off doing my stuff, and she did hers, and we get together on Monday family night and a date night on Friday, and that's the only time we'd see each other. And I'd leave before the kids were up and come home after the kids were in bed. I wish I'd done it differently really bit because I overdid it. Still active in the church, bishop and so on, so I was doing all the right things. When I wasn't with my businesses, I was doing church work. Lucked out by having a wife that really didn't ever beat me up over that and raised the kids really good. And finally in 1977, when we finally had enough sufficient for our needs, we said to ourselves, she said to me one day, "Wasn't there another part to the formula, Brother Jim? Sure, you loved it. We just built our big dream home and our big 7-car garage and all our stuff. We were just living the good life. Wasn't there another part to the formula?" she said. I said, "Oh, yeah, we're supposed to go out and serve and make a mark in life and give back." And she said, "Well, when are you going to do that?" I said, "Well, I'm a bishop, so I'm doing all I can, aren't I?" Anyway, bottom line is we finally decided to go away for 9 months on a mission, a self-imposed mission, went to the church, volunteered to teach Institute for a year, took our 7 kids at the time and went to California to teach for 9 months, to teach Seminary and Institute. We're going to come back. We left our 26 businesses in charge of other people, and we're going to come back and take over. We loved it so much we stayed another year, and then another year. By that time I was the president of Stake, and we had great times, and we started a program in Moore Park and saw 350 kids get involved with it. Just a great stuff. And when we finally were called to be mission president in Virginia, so that 9 months turned into 11 years we were gone. 11 years of full-time church service. It was the most incredible time because I finally discovered I had 8 kids by that time. I knew their names. I knew some of their birthdays. It was really, I was getting very, very familiar with my family because we finally had time together to do that. And they all loved California. They loved Virginia. We come home from that. How much time I got left?
5 minutes.
Okay, perfect. I'm not through. We come home and we get invited to come back and help Franklin. Franklin was just a new company then. Hiram Smith, I'd met him in California. This is why you network, my friends. Networking. Mentors. Get to know people, your professors and other people, the Scott Petersons of life. Get to know them and get around. In California, I met Hiram Smith, who'd been a mission president in California while I was state president. He now comes and trains our missionaries in Virginia. We come home. He now says, I'm starting a new company. Do you want to come and help us? So I get involved, become the sales and training director for this company called Franklin. 1992, we go public. 1994, we're a $1 billion company. That's when I retired again, went back, we went to New Zealand. A man we met in California through CES, was now the Commissioner of Education. He called me and said, would you go to New Zealand for us for a couple of years? I still had an older son in high school. He said, would you want to go with us? He did, yes. We go to New Zealand for 2 years as a missionary, take our son. He graduates from church college. We then come home there. Then a couple of years later, we do some things, and then we go off and phone call comes again. Would you go to Africa for us and become the area director for CES? Elder Golden just became a member of the first quorum. Would you go to Africa for us 2 years? Traveled 123 countries, boarded 122 airplanes in 2 years. A chicken farmer from Heber boarded 122 airplane rides in Africa to visit every Mormon there is in Africa. We've been there. And then get home for 7 weeks and the phone rings again. Would you come back to West Africa and be the MTC president? And then we get home for a couple of years and Steve Gibson says, come over to see us in Hawaii and would you come and help us? Become the Scott Peterson of the Willis Center in Hawaii for 3 years. Then we get home from that, Elder Holland calls and says, would you go to Washington, D.C. for us and be a missionary? And so we just got back from that. And then the phone calls and said, would you come to help Elder Gay build the international PEF self-reliance centers in the church, which we're doing now. We just got transferred. We didn't get released. Gospel is true. Heavenly Father has a great mission for all of you. Heavenly Father wants you to succeed. You have been born to be creators. Go home and read Moses chapter 1 and realize what it was like to be on top of that mountain with Moses and God. And realize what Moses discovered. When he discovered he had the unlimited potential of Godhood, it changed his life. He went from being a sheep herder to a great leader. You're here at this campus to become a great leader, to set the vision, to realize who you are, find your oil, and get ready to make your mark in life. Why? So you can give back and build a kingdom. Spread out over all the world and touch lives. May I just leave you with this, ask this question to you. And you think about this really hard. If Heavenly Father would do what he did for me, a chicken farmer's kid from Heber, a limping, stuttering chicken farmer from Heber. If he would do for what he did to me, what had to happen to have that Catholic priest end up in Dumbarton, Scotland? 2 missionaries leaving a Book of Mormon with a young girl, and she has to go home and give it to her priest and all that stuff. All that happens. And then he has to come at the very same time I'm landing there without having any idea what I'm going to do there. And 2 days later, he comes to visit me, and I'm the only missionary in Scotland that gets to go everywhere to preach and conquer a problem. Do you think that was accident? Do you think that happened by chance? That was a foreordained answer to prayer of a little boy that could have theoretically got lost in a cipher in the snow. Could have got lost in life because of adversities and troubles you have in life. But if he would do that for me, I want to leave you with the question, what has he in store for you? What has he in store for you? This really is his church. This really is his plan. He really has sent you down here to find your oil, to make a mark in life, and then go out here and leave this school and go out and change the world. And he can't settle for any mediocrity. There are no losers in this kingdom. In the name of Jesus Christ, amen. If anybody didn't get paid for coming, I have $1 million bill to give you for paying your transportation. First one I got.
Thank you so much.